Welcome, everyone. My name is Ali Deeb. I'm the city engineer for the city of Dearborn Heights, and I have with me our consultant, Wayne Hoffman from Wade Trim. We're here to go over the city's application for the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Grant projects. So again, these are the projects that the city had selected to address for the next round of grant applications, and we are going to go over them in some details so our citizens will understand what are the efforts that are currently underway to address the issues that the city faces. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Hoffman and then go over a quick PowerPoint presentation, which we will follow with questions and answer session. Mr. Hoffman?
Thank you, Mr. Dibb. Glad to be here this evening. I was actually here, I wasn't here, I was virtual back in summer when we had our first public hearing under this opportunity. To give you a little overview of what this opportunity is, this is associated with the disasters of 2021, the flooding that occurred then. The CDBG-DR program is a federal program that the city is eligible for, and is eligible because it was within the disaster declaration area. All of Wayne County is eligible, but projects must demonstrate a tie back to the disaster. So Dearborn Heights has a great tie with those and is in a good position to use this funding. When I joined you back in the summer, that was part of an application that we submitted for bridge replacements along Ecorse Creek. We've had some discussions with the MEDC, which is administering this program. That's a state agency, and they have some good preliminary indications, but that's pending approval. The two bridge replacements along Ecorse Creek will help with the problems, remove some of the barriers that cause flooding on Ecorse Creek. But we also got some good feedback that additional funding is available, and the grant cycle will be reopened for infrastructure. We are also applying for planning activities, and I'll talk about that too. That's a separate pot of money, but a very good opportunity for the city as well. So we evaluated quite a few projects for what's eligible. We do believe that some components of the Ecorse Creek, improving flow along Ecorse Creek, are eligible. We need to determine what is eligible and what the agency allow. I think in all of our discussions, improvements along the Ecorse Creek was our number one priority and remains our number one priority. In fact, when we submitted the bridge application, we put that in the grant application that improvements along Ecorse Creek are the city's number one priority. Another project that's categorically eligible, there's no question, are CSO improvements. So we are looking at those two projects. As I stated before, the Ecorse Creek bridges, that application's already gone in, and it looks pretty good that we're in position to get that. And then we are also submitting the planning grant. So looking at those, we have an opportunity to submit both projects. I think it's a good opportunity to bring money to Dearborn Heights no matter what. But our priority is absolutely number one, Ecorse Creek improvements. We are underway with a study right now. We received a state grant to study not just issues along Ecorse Creek, but citywide. Issues that happen throughout the city impact both issues on the Ecorse and the Rouge. So it's not just improving Ecorse, it's looking at what we can do across the city to either retain or keep water out of the system for a little while to allow natural flow.
Elaborate on that a little
Yep,
bit,
go ahead.
Wayne. So for the study that Wayne mentioned, this is it's not just the typical study that we've done in the past. This is looking at our conveyance system, the actual capacity of the storm conveyance system. This is our the pipe sizes and the flow, the capacity. We're looking at the actual, how much of it can be carried with our existing system. We know that we have an old aging system and some improvements will be necessary. We just don't, we're looking at both systems, north-south, Rouge and Ecorse, and examining where these, so we can concentrate on the trouble locations, basically. Yes, sir.
Yep, so that gives us confidence that we can have a project that is eligible, so that's why we're submitting that one. But we are also submitting the CSO projects, which are sewer separations in the northern part of the city. It's kind of a good backup, because we know those are absolutely 100% eligible. And that also helps with the city stormwater capacity when we separate those sewers, so it does have a tie to the disasters. In terms of project costs, we're refining those costs right now, going through the numbers, but in each case, we're looking at a $10 million in that range ask to the CDBG-DR program. The Ecorse Creek improvements probably are on that magnitude in terms of cost. It depends on what you're trying to do and what's eligible, but that's our target. And then the combined sewer overflow elimination projects, those exceed that grant, so there will be some costs that the city would have to bear, but $10 million in grant would be a good chunk out of that. So that's what we're doing in the way of asks. And the other thing we have to consider with the CDBG-DR is meeting the national objective, and they really prioritize projects that serve low, moderate income communities and areas. In the case of the Ecorse Creek, really fits that requirement well. You can see this graphic here is an overlay of the floodplain areas on the FEMA maps overlaid with low, moderate income neighborhoods. Very strong correlation there, so it definitely meets that national objective. On the CSO improvements, we took a look, and the city has been making progress on the CSO program, which is EPA mandated. Has some deadlines to meet. So we have 4 sewer separation areas left. L41 is actually one that is happening, so that's the orange one at the bottom. And the 3 left are up in the northeastern part of the city, so we have 3 there. The next one that is on the EPA's list that must be completed next is U1. And looking at our map, when we look at the national objective, that is actually the area that has the highest correlation to low, moderate income. So it's a good connection with CDBG. You have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so, no, this is, again, part of what we explained before in our council meeting last 2 weeks ago. Basically, the city continues to have the priorities defined, and then we're looking at funding opportunities that will help our budget, basically, to address these priorities. So when this application was put together, we took these target projects into account. So when we talk about separating the sewers, we talk about increasing our capacity by separating storm from sanitary, and then also rely on grant to offset some of our costs, instead of paying for the whole thing. Now, the priority remains to the city, the Ecorse Creek, obviously, because it has been a long-running issue, and it's always been an expensive issue to the city, and we are looking at funding. I believe we made a lot of good accomplishments so far. The targets still remain address a long-term solution to that issue, and this is one of those potential solutions, sir.
Excellent. So the last 2 projects I want to talk about, this is a separate pot of money that the city will be applying for. There is another one for planning activities. The first application we were going to submit, we actually submitted these together, and after the grant agency reviewed it, they wanted us to separate them. So there is some back and forth that happens with the grant agencies. They want to get things all right in the order they want to see it. So they asked us to, and in another, it's actually a good thing because we are able to apply for more money too. So we are actually going back and asking for more money than we originally did. So the first planning project is an infrastructure resiliency and capital improvement plan. The city has a lot of data that is out there, whether it's in paper format or electronic format. This will allow the city to take that data and put it together in a more meaningful way and help you make plans. So, you know, you are identifying capital improvement projects 5, 10, 20 years out. We're better able to prioritize those moving forward, understand where the money needs to go, where we need to go find money from other sources, and it just helps you plan a little stronger. I know that this has been a big objective for Mr. Dibb, and if you want to
So
expand on that,
for
go
the,
ahead.
the planning part for the city is essential simply because every agency we approach, they always, before they offer funding, they always look at, to make sure that we actually know, do you have a capital plan? Do you have a capital improvement plan? Do you know what your needs are? Do you know what order of, you know, they want to know, we need to sell our case to the funding agencies. We need to make sure, they need to make sure that we know what we're doing, how we're doing it, and we have a clear vision of what our priorities are. They just don't throw money our way for no reason. In addition to that, our capital, our master plan and our capital, which is capital improvement plan, is a byproduct of a master plan, both of which are outdated in the city of Dearborn Heights, which is unfortunate because you need to have them updated. So the last master plan, I believe, was updated in 2007, created in 2002. It does not reflect the city's vision going forward. We need to make sure that we have these things in order. So then we are currently working on updating on our master plan. We're also doing the capital improvement. We've identified the deficiencies in our systems, whether our aging infrastructure is one of them. We're looking at options, the green infrastructure. So this capital improvement resiliency, I know it sounds like, complicated, but it really is down to earth. Look at what you have, identify what your needs are, and present them in the ways that the funding agency can support you with. Just say, I need X, Y, and Z. So this is basically this is how we identify our needs. This is how we make our case to the agencies.
Yep, it definitely helps when we're actually going out and asking for money because you want to know that you have a plan and that you can sustain it. So.
Yep.
The second project under the planning program is a comprehensive master plan. That's different than a capital improvements plan in that this focuses on land use, housing, how the city is developed. As Mr. Dibb said, the last plan was updated in 2007. Usually these are updated every 5 years. So, we're pursuing federal funding that would help provide that strategy, update your land use ordinances and zoning. The other thing to consider is Dearborn Heights has had a couple of major impacts on housing in the community. One, you've had to demolish some houses because of disaster.
Yep.
And two, you've had growth in population, which is a good thing. So this is a great time to update your land use plan, get it consistent with where you're going, not where you've been. So with that, I think we're ready to take any public comment.
Sure. Again, so this is the last project that Wayne mentioned is basically our capital improvement plan, the master plan, actually. And the master plan, so we're even asking for assistance in funding things that normally are funded by the city budget. So again, we're trying to rely as much as possible on grant funding for all our needs. So that started with a vision and us identifying priorities and then working with specialists like Mr. Hoffman here, who can assist us in targeting the funding that we need so we can offset some of the costs. And so far, we have had a lot of success in basically offsetting the cost to our taxpayers. That's what we continue to do. We are working both ways on the planning end so we can define what our needs are, and then on the grant application process so we can seek out funding to address those needs. So with that, I'm open to questions. Sure. Oh, you can use your thing.
Hello, my name is Dave Abdallah, and I'm speaking in my capacity as a resident, but obviously I'm also a city councilman in Dearborn Heights. But I'm speaking in my capacity as a resident. With the Ecorse Creek funding that you guys plan on using, first of all, I want to, before I begin, I want to thank both of you gentlemen for working on this project and focusing on these types of projects, which are obviously, needless to say, very important to the city of Dearborn Heights and its residents. And most importantly, they are projects that, especially the Ecorse Creek one that what I like to call kitchen table projects, things that people can see, feel. You know, CSO is beautiful. I know, Ali Deeb, you're not going to like this one. Don't be offended. But, you know, it's under the ground. Nobody knows. Nobody sees it. Nobody, knows what it does. But needless to say, of course, it's important, not to mention it's mandated. But in terms of the Ecorse Creek project, how much of a, I don't want to use the words a dent can you make in the situation that we've got with Ecorse Creek right now, because we know it's much more than a $10 million project or $2 million or anything like that. As a lot of you know, based on the Army Corps of Engineers, we've had estimates anywhere between 250, 280 million to as high as 380 million. And these estimates, as Aladib will probably attest, were, 3, 4, 5 years ago, which with today's pricing are probably 400 or 500 million. So, with that money that we are going to be spending on the Ecorse Creek, how much of a dent do you think you could do based on those other estimates to where Joe resident or Kathy resident can actually see a difference? Will they see a difference? Is that enough to make a difference, or is it just a start?
Let me just, I'll turn it over. So, thank you. That was a good question. Actually, so we're not working by ourselves. So we are, constantly, constantly working with the County of Wayne, the owners of the creek.
Correct.
The Drain Commission. And as late as last week, my last update was, if you recall, the county is using ARPA money to address some of the county, the drain dredging or cleanup to allow for more flow. And as of last week, the Drain Commission indicated that, they started from the Detroit River outfall, and then they're working westward. I asked them about the update.
What surprised me, I remember at the time, because it was opposite of the way you think could be going. I mean, I don't know if I'm not an engineer, but I don't think you'd go downriver, but it seems the opposite.
You don't want to, if you're downflow, you don't want to push the stuff down.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that, and
So
I learned
they're-
something that day.
Yeah, so they are working from and as of last week, I asked the Assistant Drain Commissioner, Patrick, are we going to have enough money left for Dearborn Heights? Because I'm trying to hold off until see as much as the county's ARPA money is used to dredge, and then we can assist. And this is not the only source of fund. His answer was absolutely, Dearborn Heights will be covered. Now, I don't know if that was still high level. We were discussing it internally today before we put the plans together. We're going to try to get some of his data, because he did bid some of that work. The work was already bid for the county side. So we're going to try to get some of that information from the county so we can use it. But what I don't want to do is, one, I don't want to duplicate effort. If I can get more of the county, because our needs are high. But I think the number we're going after, the 10 million, for the 5 miles within Dearborn Heights, Southfield to Inkster, that will put a real good dent. It may not be 100%, not the $300 million solution, but this will be as close as we got, because we're looking at things like possible retention, build up some retention in the area, dredging and cleanup. We also have another parallel project that we haven't even started yet. We're looking at the bridges and the outlets under the bridges. So if you recall, we have 2 bridges already funded to replace, which means the outlet, the choke points under those bridges will be addressed. So, I mean, we're attacking the Ecorse Creek flood issue on multiple projects. Is it the 300 million? But I didn't want to wait for the $300 million. That's if it does happen. By the way, that project from the Corps of Engineers is to address the entire watershed, including Dearborn Heights. But I like to start with our stuff for the city of Dearborn Heights first, and if that project ever happens, that would be great. But in the meantime, we have an opportunity to get funding and address only our stuff.
Okay.
So yes, it should make a difference.
Well, I'm really excited about the fact that this administration has continued to focus on the Ecorse Creek. It's been
It is
You
a
know,
high
look,
priority.
quite frankly, I mean, I don't live personally near there, so it's not something that's affecting me, but I've just always felt so bad for a lot of residents that have had to deal with that. Sadly, because of bad government decisions back in the 50s, and now a lot of these residents who can least afford it, the
Yes.
flooding are unfortunately having to deal with it. So I'm glad you're making this one of your main focus point. The second question I had for you is, the money that you're using, for CSO, call me crazy, but is it okay to use it all for Ecorse Creek, or are you mandated to split it like this?
So let me talk about so the CSO issue, if you.
I know we have a mandate there.
We have a mandate. So the last project we mentioned, that was a previous agreement we signed up and we have a deadline to meet, I believe, end of 25. So we have to do that. The next, so that project is already designed. I believe the bid is going out in mid-January.
No, but I'm saying, could you, instead of using some of this money for CSO, use it all for Ecorse Creek?
That's the intent.
Yeah, no. The CSO, we still have to use CSO.
You know how you're splitting the money in two parts?
Yeah, we're not really splitting the money. We're making a request for both. We want to get both approved. And if we get both approved, we're going with priority one, which is Ecorse Creek. There may be components of that project that do not qualify under this program. So we
That's what
wanna-
I'm asking, yeah. So the money
Yes.
going to CSO could not be used for Ecorse Creek, is what you're saying?
Yes, so
Okay.
if that's, we're trying to play the game of, we want to be able to use it as much as we can. If we're able to use it all for Ecorse Creek, yes, it will be used for that. There will be a point where we have to say, this is the project and this is how we're going to get it done. And we'll get a determination on what's eligible. They don't,
Okay. It's my mom.
Hello, everybody.
was
I'm
that,
sorry.
was that a good answer?
I'm sorry, Mom.
No.
I didn't, can you repeat it? I'm sorry, the last part, please.
Yeah, so we're going after both projects, the CSO and the grant, and the Ecorse Creek. These, again, keep in mind, these are applications. We haven't received the money yet.
Wait, you guys, Sam?
Yeah,
Okay,
these are
fine.
applications, so we haven't received, the fundings are not there. We're seeking the funding for those two projects. But ideally, yes, the Ecorse Creek remains our highest, and we're working on funding to address the Ecorse Creek on multiple fronts. I indicated earlier, through the county, on our own, and through multiple grant applications. So that remains to be one of our highest. By the way, when we talk about updating the storm system, that's also targeting Ecorse Creek, because some of the water that's causing the flooding is also related to the pipe capacity and our drain. So when we say we're working on drains, that's part of the creek mitigation. So we're looking at it in a broad band, not just take a shovel and, work on the creek. So there's a lot of
I
components.
know, but the main question I have, because the money that we're going for CSO, can that, instead of going after that money, for CSO, because we already have some money allocated with the city for some of those CSO projects, obviously, we're working on it. Well, you've talked about that. Remember you said we had to finish it by 2025. My only question is, why are we using some of that money for CSO when we could use it all for Ecorse Creek, unless you can't? That's my main question.
yeah, we are asking for all the money, and it's about $10 million. So if we get $10 million that can be used for Ecorse Creek, that's where we'll use it. But there's only $10 million. So we're
No,
at,
that's not what he asked, though. What you're asking is the money that's already earmarked for the CSO to move it, no.
no.
To move it and ask for the Ecorse Creek.
Can't do that.
Anything
Because
we've
I'm
already
going to
got.
continue personally, as you know, this has been there's a pet peeve of mine, is that obviously it is for a lot of residents. And I'm always focused on the Ecorse Creek, because I think for too many years, it was just, an oversight by a lot of administrations. And again, I'm glad this administration is focusing on this. And I also know we don't have the funding to complete it all, but I just want to keep it on everybody's radar.
yeah.
I understand now.
As I think last meeting, I went through the funding and the funding plan, and I think we have a pretty good financial plan to match our funding needs, and we do have what we need. These are in addition to what we're doing now, that's in addition to.
Okay.
So the last CSO, so the funds we have in the bank for 3 CSOs, 2 are completed, and 1 is going out to bid this January or next month. So when it goes out, that money for this is already allocated, plus we received a 50% grant for that. So, I don't want to give that up, because 1, it's mandated, and 2, I have 50% match, so that's a great thing. But when I do that, then I freed up some of my money to use elsewhere. So in a way, we're doing what you just
Indirectly, you
said.
could use it for that.
Yeah, but, you know, we signed a mandate on those 3 CSOs, and we need to finish them. By the way, all 3 of them now are done, will be done, and then we can concentrate. And these are all on the south end, by the way.
Right.
They're on the south end, which means now I'm increasing my capacity. You know, people don't realize that 42, we were just discussing it today, L42, which is the one by
Beach Daily.
And that. The last heavy rain we had in August is the first time in history we had no sewers in the river, and nobody ever flooded in that area. So this is, it's
Also,
working.
from pure cosmetic standpoint, it looks beautiful, by the way.
Yeah,
I
aside
drove
from that,
through it
but
recently. It
the
looks nice.
The intention, Mr. Abdullah, was to not quit contaminating the river, which is the Clean Water Act, plus nobody got flooded. So that went, no one realized that, but I tracked those things. No basement got flooded in the area, and we didn't send any sewers in the river. So
Beautiful.
the project is a success.
Can you make me one promise? You'll keep Ecorse Creek on your
Yes,
radar.
yes,
I
yes.
know you will, and you have. Your history is proven that you have. But I just hope as an administration, we don't
Yes,
take
sir.
our eyes off of that creek. And finally, one day during my lifetime, we come to a resolution on that.
And you're going to have fishing or, you know, some activities in the river. We'll
Good.
have it. They'll clean it.
Good. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any, we have a sign-in sheet for the public meeting, if you don't mind. Anyone else with questions? Yes, sir.
Drapkowski, Columbia Street.
Sir.
Mr. Deeb, I know you put a lot of work into this project and everything like that, but I'm very surprised that hardly anybody knew that this meeting was being held. A lot of people from the south end should be here, and believe me, if they knew it was being held today, I'm very sure this room would be a lot fuller. There was hardly any notification on this meeting at all. So I'm hoping the next time
I didn't do the advertising.
you give a meeting regarding the Seacourts Creek and the flooding that goes on in the south end, I'm sure a lot of the south end residents would have been here.
Yeah,
I mean-
I didn't do the advertising. I thought it was well advertised, but I'm gonna look into that. If we
Yeah,
have to redo it
well,
again, we'll do it again.
if it was up to the administration, obviously, they don't want to be too transparent on it.
I will, was it advertised on the south end, the Ecorse Creek Commission? No? If we have to do it again, I'll re-advertise it, but I'll have to look into that.
Thank you, sir.
You will. All right, so we do have a council meeting coming up shortly, so if there are no questions, I'd like to, Nancy, you want?
Just a
Yes,
continuation.
ma'am, please.
Is this the same thing that Mr. Jamal was working on, getting grants for?
No,
No?
that's not the one.
I thought maybe it was a continuation since it was Ecorse Creek related.
No, this is the second round of funding that became available, so we're pursuing it every time we have, so under the disaster recovery, that's the second round, and these are the projects that we identified, and this gentleman is assisting us with the application.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good afternoon. This is Mariana Hernandez, Chief of Staff, City of Dearborn Heights. I just wanted to answer the question with regards to advertisement. So again, for every grant, we have to follow a series of dates that we have to adhere to. So this was posted for 10 days. It was shared on our local newspapers, Facebook, social media, cable, and our city website. So that is the typical path that we take for any advertisement of any public hearing that we have. If you have any recommendations of how you would like to reach out to more individuals, please do let the administration know. But just so you know, it was advertised for 10 days as required by the grant requirements.
Okay, so we're good. We have to turn it over to our
Close the public meeting.
council. We'll close the public meeting.
Yep.
Thank you.